ISDC has been modified recently to make it symbology based on elements from the design file as opposed to writing pathway information into the files. In order to tell ISDC and ISAE what features represent break lines, obscured areas, and other geomorphic features, you need to open an existing symbology file or generate a symbology file. We deliver default symbology files with ISDC and ISAE. So if you go to those product folders and go to the config folder, you'll see a default symbology.ini file, and you can open that. If you like, you can generate one, so your customers can run this command, give it a feature database from ISFC, and it will scan the feature table and create one of these so-called INI files. And you can see I've already done it earlier, but hit OK and we'll override it. The nice thing about doing it from a customer's database is that if the customer has gone through and tagged features such as roads as break lines, then that command will scan and detect these various features that have a secondary tag as a break line and include that in the INI file, so it saves a lot of manual editing. Now, since we've opened up this design file with ISDC, if you go out to the project folder where you have your design file, it will automatically create this dtmcollections.config file for that design file. And if you double click and open it up, you can see the INI file that is assigned to that design file. And I'll show you here momentarily how you can have more than one set of collection parameters for the design file. Some things that will look similar but act differently is you have the define point symbology command. If you click on this dialog I'm sure looks familiar to you. If you change these values and hit OK, that also updates the INI file. If we go look at that INI file that we generated, you can open that up and you can see the structure of it. You scroll down to the bottom, you'll get down to the points, the grid points and whatnot, and you can see there's the weight got changed to 3 for all the changes that I just made. In making these changes, we tried to keep the workflow as similar to the old workflow as possible. You still have this option to define collection parameters. Looks very similar to what we had in the past. There's a couple things I need to point out on here that might not be exactly clear to you right off the bat. We create a so-called default collection parameter file called simply number1, very similar to pathway number1, but you can call it anything you want. So if you want to rename collection parameters 1 and say call it 30 feet, you can simply hit apply and it's changed the name of that set of collection parameters to 30 feet. So there's one in the list. If you want an additional set of parameters, you can hit key in a new name, we'll call it say 60 feet, and hit add collection parameters. So now I've got 2 sets of parameters. Okay, so for 30 feet I can go in here and change this to 30 and hit apply, and it saves those changes. And if I go to 60, I can change that to 60 and hit apply. And so now when you switch back and forth, you will see that the parameters change. Okay, and whichever one you have active when you leave will be the active set of collection parameters. So now if you go out and look at your config file, you can see you've got 2 sets of parameters. By the way, if you're running ISAE and you've run blockwise matching and you've got a single design file with all sorts of, let's say the user wrote multiple models to one design file, you can come in here and run update surfaces, and it will generate a set of collection parameters for each one of the collection boundaries in the design file. Alright, so I've defined the collection parameters, the point symbology, all these sorts of things. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and define the collection boundary. This is no different than what you've done in the past. I'm not sure how this will show up in the movie, but we'll just have to try it and see. And then you can generate the uncollected points, same as we've always done in the past. Okay, we still have the active point types command. You'll notice it looks a bit different. We've consolidated the two groups. Because we don't have pathways anymore, there's no mechanism for keeping score on how many points you have in the file. So that's one of the drawbacks of using symbology versus a pathway. But other than that, it works pretty much the same. So my uncollected points are the active points. If you want to go and digitize, collect these points, something here that's changed is you notice that there's no collect pathway command. You've got two commands. You can either collect individual points or you can collect an area of points. So what you'll want to do is do the collect area. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in first. And tell it I want to collect area. It prompts me to identify the collection boundary. Hit accept, and it drives me to the first point, and I can start collecting points. So nothing really different there, I don't think. So to summarize, we've got collect area, collect points. Some things that are missing are collect pathway and collect profile. Since we don't have pathways, we don't have the concept of profiles anymore. Custom edits, I think there were a couple other commands in here that were peculiar to pathways, and just right now off the top of my head I can't remember what they are, but if there was a command here that you don't see anymore, it's because it was pathway dependent, so there may be some things missing that you might have been expecting in the past. I think that's about it.